Some of the things that I've been saying for quite some time when it comes to Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo has finally come to pass, specifically speaking about Microsoft and the Xbox division, and the truth is finally coming out. Xbox is finally being honest with us, and I think a lot of the Xbox gamers are finally seeing the writing on the wall. What was going to happen based off of something that was set off that I've been stating for so long you can't do if you want to stay in the business of video game consoles and big exclusives. There's some things you simply just can't do, and I got a lot of flack from that from Xbox gamers. I got a lot of flack from people saying that I don't know the business on that front, but I can tell you right now, guys, I was absolutely right. But it's not something that I'm going to sit here and act like I was the only one and it was some type of genius type of thing. But honestly, exclusives matter. Game sales matter. Getting games to sell at full price or near that matter. Having evergreen games matter. There are so many things that absolutely matter when it comes to the dedicated video game console business, and if you can't get that done, you're going to have trouble and you're going to need to adjust your business or go out of business overall. Microsoft is incredibly lucky because they have a large pool of resources in order for them to tap into so they can stay in it. But if they were not that, if they didn't have that, they would absolutely be in a lot more trouble than what meets the eye. But we're going to get into all that and more, but before we do, what's good everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to the video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. Now let's get into the clip of what Phil Spencer had to say recently about Indiana Jones.
Going to the PlayStation announcement, obviously last spring, we launched 4 games, 2 of them on the Switch, 4 of them on PlayStation, and we said we're going to learn. We said we'd watch, and I think at Showcase I might have said from our learning we're going to do more. What I see when I look is our franchises are getting stronger. Our Xbox console players are as high this year as they've ever been.
Amazing.
So I look at it and I say, okay, our player numbers are going up for the console platform. Our franchises are as strong as they've ever been. And we run a business. Like, it's definitely true inside of Microsoft. The bar is high for us in terms of the delivery that we have to give back to the company, because we get a level of support from the company that's just amazing in what we're able to go do. So I look at this, how can we make our games as strong as possible? Our platform continues to grow, both on console, on PC, and on cloud. And I think it's just going to be a strategy that works for us. And the last thing I'll probably say is I think as an industry right now, there's a lot of pressure on the industry. It's been growing for a long time, and now people are looking for ways to grow. And I think that us as fans, as players of games, we just have to anticipate there's going to be more change in how some of the traditional ways that games were built and distributed. That's going to change. That's going to change for all of us. But the end result has to be better games that more people can play. If we're not focused on that, I think we're focused on the wrong things. So for us as Xbox, health of Xbox, health of our platform, and our growing games, most important things.
So there you guys have it right there. All of that talk that he just said at that point was translation for, hey, we're a business, we need to sell games. What we're doing right now isn't cutting it. Game Pass, while it's good and it generates revenue and we can make some money off of it, having 30-something million people signing up for Game Pass is not enough. It's not enough return on the investment. We absolutely need to have more. We are not getting what we need to get, so we need to find that from somewhere. Not only are we not selling enough consoles or systems to get that done, when you have 10 years and about $100 billion worth of acquisitions in those 10 years since you took over, and you wanted to say, hey, we're going to do this whole Game Pass route and have all of that. You can't simply make these games as development has went up and up and up in price and still say, all right, you're going to pay $14 a month and everyone's going to do that. No, everyone's not going to do that, and people are not going to buy your games as much if you're simply saying that, hey, you can have them quote unquote for free, which is air quotes on that one, guys, because obviously you're paying for a subscription service. But yeah, it's not really going to work out that way. So with Indiana Jones, it pretty much reveals the truth about it. They want to sell the game for $70. They want to sell the game to people that are going to buy the game. Now, for so many years, I've had Xbox fans and people tell me that Game Pass by itself is sustainable. People are still buying games. trust me, as someone who worked in corporate business, if Game Pass was doing well enough, and if games were still selling for near or at full price with the big games, Xbox wouldn't be doing this. If they were selling in the millions upon multi-millions like Nintendo sells their first-party IP, or even like Sony's first-party IP, I don't think we'd be having this discussion. If Game Pass was getting new subscribers all the time and getting the numbers that they would want, I don't think we'd have this discussion. Hi-Fi Rush and certain games that are supposedly even on Game Pass but still sell, that's what some people have been telling me, they wouldn't have been shut down and the people let go at this point. Everything would have been fine, but enough proof is out there, enough, I would say, masking of the numbers and inflating the numbers with active users is out there to show that clearly Microsoft needs to see more ROI. They need to see more return on their investment. They need to see more profit. They need to see more of it because they have super high expectations. And also the CEO of Microsoft has very high expectations on their investment. They're not just trying to make like a couple $1 million or something. They're trying to make billions of dollars because they're investing billions of dollars overall. So you have to make considerably more than what you're putting out. And clearly having everything on Game Pass and people being conditioned to not actually buy the games for 70 or 60 is absolutely a problem for Microsoft, which so many Microsoft fans were very resistant to think that because they see the investors meetings and the reports and everything's just fine, right? Oh, they're selling the revenues there and all that. But trust me, guys, they wouldn't be doing this if it was, because now they're opening themselves up at this point to really putting more games on Nintendo and putting more games on PlayStation to actually get full price sales and to sell millions of copies. If you look at Indiana Jones, yeah, if you don't have that on PlayStation, you're missing out on something that could sell 2-3 million units almost instantly on that platform, and even more when it comes to long-term sales. Are you really going to want to miss out on that when your strategy with Game Pass and getting new subscribers isn't working, when you haven't been able to break through to the 40, 50, 60 million threshold, when you're not selling consoles at a rate fast enough to get the install base up? You're not going to risk that. And that's exactly the reason why these things are happening at this point. Now, another thing that this proves in terms of the honesty with them is that you still need to buy games at a high rate. Game Pass is fine. I think it works pretty well as a companion or to be able to try out different things. But at the end of the day, developers want you to buy their game. If you ask a developer, most of them, you say, hey, would you rather buy their game or subscribe to a service and play their game? They're going to tell you buy the game. If they can just buy the game, they would take the millions of game sales over people subscribing up to a service and playing their game. That's why it doesn't make sense for Sony to launch instantly into a subscription service like PS Plus when they know that they can get 10 million people to buy God of War Ragnarok at that price, whether it's $60 or $70, depending on whatever system or whatever the case is. They know they can get people to buy it at that price. They know they can get people to buy it at maybe even discounted, like for $39.99 or $49.99 before it's older, and then finally they might put it in there after a number of years, where you can build the value of your PS Plus backlog in addition to actually having sales, so you can kind of have your cake and eat it too. And clearly with Nintendo, it doesn't make any sense at all, as they're selling so many copies of the games. It doesn't make sense for them to put their big titles like The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom or like Super Mario Odyssey and these games that can sell for $60 or $70 and sell for super long periods of time into a subscription service right away and lose out on that revenue. These companies still need people to be buying games at a very high rate, or you're going to run into issues. Now, people have been asking about this, and this is something that I think is very clear at this point. But yeah, I do believe that Microsoft is essentially going full third party, because you have one of your biggest games that could essentially be a system seller, quote unquote, and you're putting it on the other platform with a little bit of an exclusivity time window for some reason. And on top of that, you spent marketing dollars or potentially spent marketing time on actually saying, hey, check this out, you guys can go buy on that system. So even if people were going to subscribe to Game Pass to pick up Indiana Jones or buy it on the Xbox platform, if they have both, if they prefer PlayStation, they're just gonna wait for the PlayStation version so they can get the DualSense controller and play it on their system of preference. So essentially you're saying, hey, wait for it too as well, because we want you to buy it on there if you're gonna have a whole marketing scheme and a whole marketing thing letting you know about that PlayStation 5 version at a huge event with millions of people watching. So at this point, they're going third party and they want people to get comfortable and normal with them just saying, hey, these games are coming over to PlayStation, even if it's going to be huge games. Now, Phil Spencer was very good with what he said before. People are bringing up his past comments when it comes to the roundtable, and it's just these 4 games. And some people felt that he lied about it not coming in terms of Indiana Jones. But what he was talking about was essentially those 4 games, and that's not Indiana Jones or Starfield, the 4 games. We already know about the 4 games. They've already came out. So essentially, he was being a little bit silver-tongued there overall. Now, he never said, and he always said that, hey, just for now, things can change. So he was definitely good with his wording, because I think the writing was on the wall. They were letting him know, like, hey, look, you got to turn this around. We purchased Activision for 70 billion. We purchased Bethesda for billions. We've purchased all these companies. No, you're not just going to be sitting here and having a Game Pass subscription that is not really gaining multiple millions of subscriptions every single year, and people aren't buying games on Xbox like that. Microsoft does not even let us know how many games they've sold, that they aren't looking at it in that type of way. And clearly you can see, I mean, that their sales are obviously lower because of the lowered install base of the Xbox platform. And if you combine PC, obviously that's also good. But overall, people are still looking at that Xbox platform and saying, hey, what's going on with this? And why aren't you guys giving more information? And Microsoft clearly doesn't want to give that information and are pivoting their strategy pretty hardcore at this point. So the thing about this, like I stated before, exclusives matter. If you want to sell a box and you want that box to do incredibly well, I don't care what you are or who you are, where, how, or why. You need to have exclusives that sell that hardware. You need to have a ecosystem and environment that encourages people to be dedicated towards that hardware and to have excitement when it comes down to it. If you don't provide that for people, what's the point of them buying your system when they can get all of that you're offering and then some on another platform plus those exclusives? That's just how the market works and how the market is going to work for the foreseeable future. Now, yeah, you're going to see companies adjusting, obviously putting games on PC. That was something that Xbox was like, hey, you know, we're not really fully sure about that. And then they ended up doing day and date. That was something that Sony was not fully sure about, and they ended up doing. Even Nintendo was like, yeah, we're not sure about smartphone gaming. Nintendo started putting games on the smartphone. And I do feel that at some point, yeah, they'll start putting some games on PC. I don't think it really hurts to put, like, I don't know, Mario Sunshine on PC or something like that. So I can absolutely see Nintendo putting some old school games, putting some classic stuff, nothing from more of the modern days, but putting some of their classic games on PC and seeing how it does, if they can get that. Even though you can obviously play those like between like hacking or backups or whatever the case is, right? Like emulation, you can do that, but let's just see how it works out with some of our older and back catalog. And I think it'll work out just fine. So I think that we're going to see multi-platform strategies from all of the big three. We've kind of already seen it to some degree or not, some far more than not. Obviously, Microsoft's is pretty extreme, but this is exactly what I was saying was going to happen, or what needed to happen with Xbox overall. And I can understand from both sides, from the people that are kind of upset on the Xbox side saying, hey, wait a minute, you're not giving me a reason to be super excited about this box. You're not giving me a reason in terms of the investment. You are investing in other things. How do we know that you're going to actually give us the full effort on here? And of course, these are all things that Microsoft needs to answer with games themselves. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at it overall, the exclusives and what they bring is a proven strategy in order to sell systems and have a good ecosystem of consumers and people buying in, like Nintendo has done for decades, like Sony has done for decades, and like Microsoft kind of tried to do, but wasn't really able to execute on the last couple of generations. And I think at this point, the truth and the honesty is finally coming out. And once again, man, I was absolutely right about this business plan not being right, and there needing to be adjustments. Game Pass is not sustainable by itself. You still need people to purchase games, especially when you're Microsoft, Xbox, and you have one of the biggest employee bases out there. Not only do you have to fund all of that, but then you also have to make the higher ups happy with the amount of money that's coming in, and that's profit. Big profits, not little bit, but big profits. And it's just not feasible with Game Pass by itself and deals that you do here and there. You gotta have more people buying in. That's where Sony comes in. That's where Nintendo comes in, and that's why you have to change your strategy here, and that's why Phil Spencer has about faced, along with Sarah Bond and Greenberg and everybody there over at Xbox. So what are your thoughts overall when it comes down to this, guys? What did you think about what Phil Spencer had to say? What do you think about Xbox's switch up and the business plan going forward, now that we have seen even the biggest titles like a Indiana Jones will be coming to PlayStation very shortly after the release on Xbox and PC? And what do you think is going to be next? Me, I have my money on Starfield. I think that that would be a huge launch on the PlayStation 5. I think that you will see other games. You will see Halo. You're going to see some other stuff make its way over. Not just the PlayStation, but I think you're going to see some of this stuff on Nintendo Switch 2 or even Nintendo Switch with some of their older catalog in all due time. I think that 2025 is going to be a crazy year for Microsoft, as not only are they going to start introducing way more games on other platforms, but their bank accounts are going to start increasing way more with all of these people being exposed to their games, which, if you're looking at it honestly, Microsoft hasn't even reached 80 million plus in sales at this point, with 2 generations from 2013 all the way up and down until 2024. So 11 years, and you haven't even hit 80 million with your 2 generations of a system. For people that like console gaming, clearly there's a lot of people that have not been exposed to these IPs that are into console gaming. So they're going to get their opportunity coming up here on PlayStation and Nintendo. So what do you guys think overall about all of this? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch RPG videos and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.